Hey, how's it going everybody? Welcome back to another Oxygen tutorial. My name is Jonathan, and in this video we're going to be setting up a pretty comprehensive suite of filtering options for, in this particular example, a used car dealership. Now this doesn't just apply to cars or some kind of physical product like a car. It can also be used for digital products. You could use it to filter different kinds of blog posts. You could also even create something as comprehensive as a local directory website. So your visitors can filter by any kind of data point that you want to create. In the case of, let's say, a local directory website, a visitor could filter by location type, such as a restaurant, shopping, things to do, all that sort of things. And then from there, the plugins that we're going to use to achieve this setup, there's actually only a couple. So of course, we're going to use Oxygen to actually design the website. And then we're going to use advanced custom fields. We're going to create a custom post type. And the filtering plugin itself is called Facet WP. So it's not terribly complex. But let's go ahead and get started, and I'll show you exactly how the site is set up, and then I will walk you through step by step on how to build the site yourself. Okay, so here's how the actual live site is going to look whenever we've got the full site completed. And basically what you're seeing here is the vehicle archive page, and we have a left-hand sidebar with all of our facets using the plugin Facet WP. Each one of these elements that you're seeing, such as the price slider, the make drop-down field, etc., is all an individual shortcode. So the great part about that is that you could take the shortcodes and put them in different places. For our sake, I just built a left-hand sidebar, and then as you make adjustments to each of the facets, then the vehicles filter out appropriately. So as you can see, the other option you have is to stack the facets as well. So stacking in the sense of minimum $20,000 leaves us with only two vehicles in this case, which would be our BMW or Ford. But you can go ahead and set them to combine, and it's really, really great. The power of these facets is really unlimited, and you can see how comprehensive the settings for a car would be. You have make, price, mileage, body style, transmission, color, all that kind of stuff. And so what we're going to do is actually set up all of that. A couple more things I wanted to show you on this site is what you're seeing right here in the middle of the page is actually the Oxygen Easy Post element, which is of course displaying the title, and then I have the price and the mileage added through just a little bit of custom code, which I'll show you how to write, and that data is stored inside of advanced custom fields. If we go ahead and actually click on the vehicles themselves, we're going to move into the vehicle details template, and again, as you can tell, all this data is pulled using advanced custom fields and the Oxygen data element. So this title right here is pulled in from the post title. Our miles per gallon city and highway were set up using advanced custom fields. Our transmission. These photos right here are using the Oxygen Lightbox element. So you have this really nice scrollable gallery. And then inside of our template, I have the post inner content, which you would use in this case for the description of the vehicle. And then in the actual template, I set up a call to action just to have an example here. So you can see what you can do as far as the vehicle template. Then as far as the header and the footer, that's set up using a template that we just called main, which would effectively be our site-wide template. That's going to apply to all of our pages, and then the vehicle details page, which is the one we're on, and then the vehicle archive template, which is the previous one, the one with all of the facets. Those two templates actually inherit the all pages template. If that is a little bit confusing, don't worry. I'm going to show you in depth exactly how to make all of that, but I wanted to give you an idea of what the live site is going to look like. It's really, really great, and as I mentioned earlier, this can be applied to a lot of different things outside of just cars. So now that you've kind of seen how everything is set up, what I'm going to go ahead and do is move into another install here that actually only has the media elements uploaded and the plugins we're going to need installed. So here's what we're working with. Advanced Custom Fields Pro, specifically for the gallery element of Pro. Basic Contact Form 7. We're going to create a custom post type, so I just use CPT UI. Facet WP, like I said, is the plugin that will help us configure all of those filtering and search options. And then, of course, Oxygen, which we're actually going to use to design the site. Kind of the order in which we're going to do this is we're going to create our custom post type, create our custom fields, and then we're actually going to go create the vehicle listings, and then we'll set up kind of our facets and go from there. All right, so first thing we're going to do is create our custom post type. So just click on Add Edit Post Type on CPT UI, and our post type slug, I'm just going to call vehicles, which is going to be the URL of our vehicle archive template. So type in vehicles. And then here we're going to do vehicles again with a capital V, and then the singular is just vehicle. So that's very straightforward. Go ahead and click on Add Post Type, and there's two things we're going to do. So I'm going to click on Edit Post Type. If we had more than one, there'd be another option here, but vehicles is the one that we're working with, so I have that selected. I'm going to scroll pretty far down the page, and we want to find the option that says Has Archive and set that to True. What that's going to allow us to do is create that vehicle archive template like I showed you earlier, which will have all of the filters on the left-hand side. If you don't do this, if you set this, if you forget to change it from false to true, then what you'll find later on is that when we create our oxygen template, you won't have the vehicles archive to apply that particular template to. So make sure this is set to true. One other thing I am going to do as well is change the post type icon, which I have just this little wheel uploaded to the site. So I'm going to take this, insert that into the post, and then I personally like to add the categories and the tags taxonomy just for ease of use. So click Save Post Type from there. And then what you can see is we now have our vehicles post type created, and there's the little icon that I uploaded. So what we can do from here is go ahead and set up our custom fields. These are going to be where our data is stored for the price, mileage, color, and all that sort of thing. Go ahead and click Add New under Field Group. And then this one we can just call Vehicle Details. This one we can just call Vehicle Details. And then change post type is equal to vehicle. And then the position, I personally like the option that's high after title. So what that means is that all of your options when you're creating a new vehicle are going to be listed just underneath the title of the post right here. The first things you come across are color, make, mileage, etc. So we're going to go ahead and add our fields in here. So I'm just going to kind of go through these. We're going to do price, and most all of these can just be text. So just leave the field type to text. There's only one or two that we need to change from text. Then let's do color. And these field names are important to some degree, so don't make them really ambiguous. You can leave them just pretty much the default there and you'll be totally fine. Color, and then we're going to do make. Then we're going to do mileage. And then we'll do transmission. What you can do under the transmission option is instead of text, you can change it to select. And what that will allow you to do is have either a checkbox or a drop-down menu as opposed to just a text field. And what you can do is input some static options here. So the user wouldn't be able to type in whatever they want. They can only pick from these predefined elements. So what you can do is say, automatic transmission. You can call it semi-automatic. And then, of course, you can put in manual transmission. And now the user will have to pick one of those three whenever they are setting up a new vehicle post. And then from here, let's do, we have to go min city MPG for minimum city miles per gallon. And then we're also going to add minimum highway miles per gallon as well. So min highway MPG. And the reason why we're splitting them up is so that we can do kind of a slider of between the ranges. So I'll show you how we're going to set that up later. So just make sure you have min and max. Sorry, I meant to do max here. Min and max highway miles per gallon as two separate fields. Then from here, we'll just do one final one, which will be body style. This can also be a select field. And again, that's so that the user can't type in whatever they want here. So you can do sedan, SUV, truck, you can do wagon, that sort of thing. Oh, you know what? I need to do one more after body style, which is going to be the photo gallery. And this one we're going to change to the gallery element, which, like I said, is an Advanced Custom Fields Pro element. So if you don't see gallery here, it's because you don't have Advanced Custom Fields Pro installed. So go ahead and hit update one more time. And now our vehicle details are totally sorted out. So at this point, what we can do is go ahead and set up our facets. Now, what you're going to do is go to Settings and Facet WP. And we're going to basically have to add those same entries again, price, make, color, all that sort of thing. But there's a couple different options we're going to have to work with here. So our facets are going to be the actual search kind of filtering functions, and we're going to create them one by one. So let's just start off with basically the same way down. We're going to do price. As far as the price goes, the best way to do this one is going to be a slider, and that gives you what I showed you earlier, which is basically the low and the high end of the slider range. So the person could say, I want my max to be 50,000, and they just pull the top end of the slider down, or the bottom end up, for instance. So we're going to change this to slider, and our data source is going to be our price advanced custom fields. From here, this is basically all you have to worry about on the price one, so click on save and go back. And then we're going to add in the next one. This one is going to be color. And what we're going to do here is you're going to notice two different options. There's a drop-down and F-select. Drop-down is going to be a completely unstyled, doesn't look that great, but it's just simply a drop-down. That's all it is. You can't allow the user to select multiple options in that drop-down unless you choose F-select. So we're going to choose F-select here because that allows us to enable the multi-select option. So because we're modifying the color element, that would mean that the user could see a black and blue car, and then they could add in, yellow or whatever color they choose. Whereas with the drop-down, it's one at a time. So then, of course, your data source is going to be color. And once again, just click on save. These default options in the rest of these fields are totally fine, so just go ahead and hit back. We're going to do make, and this is going to be the same thing. We're going to choose F-select because somebody's going to want to be able to see multiple makes of the cars. They might want to see Ford and BMW, for instance, and that way you can allow them to see multiple at the same time. So, of course, make sure you again hit multi-select, click save, and back again. And then we'll do our mileage. Once again, the mileage is going to be a slider, so somebody can choose a range that it has to fit between. So choose vehicle details, mileage. Click on save and go back. Now from here, we're going to do our transmission. And then this one we're going to actually leave on the checkbox setting, and that's because that way all of the options are visible. You don't have to actually click the drop down to view the options like you would drop down in F-select. That makes sense in this case because we only have 3 types of transmissions, so it really doesn't make sense to have the user click a drop down just to see 3 options in my opinion. So we'll leave that checkbox and choose data source transmission. So click on save. Go back. All right, so the only other facet that's going to be a little bit different is the miles per gallon. And this one is just a little bit complicated because there's a number of ways you can set it up. But the best way that I found to do it is, let's just start off by naming it minimum city miles per gallon. Our facet type is going to be a number range. And then the data source will start with minimum city miles per gallon. And then other data source is going to be maximum highway MPG. So from here, we're going to change our fields to show to minimum, and then the compare type to intersect. Going back to our example site, the estimated miles per gallon is going to be a little bit easier to show you if I actually kind of show you on the site here. So this truck, I think, gets 16 minimum miles per gallon, and the high end is 22. And this Honda Civic right here gets between 30 and 39 miles per gallon. So I'm going to type in estimated MPGs of 25 minimum. And what that's going to do is actually filter out the truck because this number is higher than the minimum range of the truck, but the Honda is better than that. So because the user only wants a minimum of 25 miles per gallon, all of these other vehicles fit. But if I do, let's say 34, then that's going to exclude, 2 of the other vehicles. So only our Subaru and our Honda get somewhere in the range of 34 miles per gallon. Now, like I said, that Honda gets between 30 and 39, so that does intersect the range. And again, if I go back to 25, then we see some other options come back. I believe this BMW gets between 18 and 28. So if I go to 29, you can see that the BMW will disappear and that other Honda up here stays. And then we're going to set up one more facet, which is going to be our body style. And this one again, we will choose our F-select option so that way they can choose multiple. If they want a sedan and a wagon but not a truck, then they can choose that as their option as well. So save and back. So here we go. These are our facets that we've created. Our price is slider, make, F-select, transmission, checkbox, body styles, F-select, etc. That way you can kind of see each of them, and you're done. That's basically all you have to worry about with the facets. One thing we will need later on, though, is each of these facets has a shortcode. And like I said, we are going to be copying those shortcodes individually. So go ahead and just kind of keep this in the back of your mind. We're going to create our oxygen templates here in just a few minutes, but we are going to need our facet facet shortcodes. So to go ahead and move forward, what we're going to do now is add our vehicles. So I'm going to add new under my vehicles post type. And let's just do the, let's do this one as the 2012 BMW 335i. And I'm going to go ahead and fill in these options. So this vehicle, let's say, is 34995. Its color is blue. Make is BMW. Mileage is 65,000. And its transmission, just for the sake of this example, let's do semi-automatic. Minimum city miles per gallon 18 and 28. It is a sedan, and we'll add some photos to our photo gallery here. And here is our BMW photos, which are those. And we'll select those in here. Now your photo gallery is completely drag and drop, and you can add and remove photos at any time individually, which is great. We're going to set our featured image over here, and we'll just do the BMW driving down the road like that. And then our description here, you can put the full vehicle description, and that will appear. We'll say BMW is the best car manufacturer in the world. The categories here are not required, but I personally just like to go ahead and do it. And so after that, really the only thing left that you have to do is publish. From here, I'm going to go ahead and add in these other vehicles because you can see it's extremely straightforward. It's basically just fill in the pertinent details, click publish, and your vehicle post is created. So I'm going to go ahead and fill these in. Okay, so as you can see, I got our 5 vehicles added here. So at this point, we're ready to go ahead and start designing our site. What I'm going to do is, first of all, go under Oxygen Settings and make sure that Selector Detector is enabled. And we will be able to use this to style a couple of the custom data fields that we're going to set up later on, where I showed you that the price and the mileage are overlaid on top of our easy posts. This is how we're going to be able to style that particular setting. So just go ahead and do that. I am going to open Oxygen in a new tab, because in this tab I want to go to our Facet WP and just have this ready for a few minutes from now. So in this tab up here, I'm going to add a new template, and this is going to be our site-wide template. So I'm going to call this All Pages. And this is going to contain our header, our footer, and kind of the middle sort of inner content element. So click on Publish. And the only thing you need to do is set where does this template apply. Under Singular, click Pages, and then click Update again. Then click Edit with Oxygen, and we'll get started. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and change our font to something a little bit more interesting from the default. I personally am a huge fan of the Mooly font. And so I'm going to go ahead and swap this display and the text font to that. Body text size, I like to bump that up to 18. And then the color is fine. From here, I'm going to open the structure panel, and we're going to start off with the header builder. So under helpers, go to header builder. And we're just going to make this relatively simple. So the first thing I want to do is add in our logo image. So we'll click on browse. And I have just a really simple image here for our logo. It's pretty huge, so let's change that to more like 125 pixels, add in some padding around it, and then let's go ahead and add in our WordPress menu. Now, we don't have a menu set up at this time, which is fine. We're going to set one up later, and it will automatically update properly to the menu that we create. We don't have to come back into the template unless you have multiple menus on the site. Then you might want to choose specifically which one applies. So from here, what I'm going to do is change our text color to something like just a black. And then as far as our styles, I want this dark slate to be the hover color. So we're going to go to hover and active, hover border top. I'm going to change that to white, and then hover text color. Let's change it to this. And we're going to set our global color here. We're just going to call this slate blue, I think is what it is. We'll just click on add. And now when we hover over, you can see that there's that border on the top. I personally am a fan of no background color, and I'm going to change it to bottom. So there you can see. Now it has that correct bottom border, and we have our global color set for easy use later. So that's going to be super, super easy. Just for the sake of making this look like a fully functioning live site, I'm going to go back to helpers, and we'll just add in, let's do some social icons. And we'll take our social icons and drag those over to the right side here. Decrease the size a bit, make it 25, and then just use brand colors, and that's perfect. Now I'm going to add just a quick little border color to the bottom of the header row. do that, and then I want the opacity to be something like 40, and we'll save this again to be our light border is what I'm going to call this one. And that's perfect. So now what I can do is go ahead and add in, let's do a section. And inside of this section, we want to put our inner content element. And I'm going to take this inner content and throw it into the section there, so it fits nicely. And then I'm going to add one more section, which is going to be under library. Let's go to design sets, atomic, and I'm just going to get a pre-built footer so that we have something that looks nice. We'll go to sections, footers, and down here, we'll just do this one here. Change the oxygen logo real quick, something to our liking, and delete some of these footer credits. And then under this menu, we'll do the same thing. Hover border, we're going to change to hover border bottom. We want our global color here, which was our slate blue. And then our text color, we'll just do the same kind of black that we did earlier. So there we go. There's our nice little hover border. And that's pretty much it. That's really all we need to worry about for our site-wide template at this point. We can go ahead and add in the border to the top of this section, just like we did. So we'll go borders, top, and then use our global color, which is our light border there. We're going to set the width to 1 and do solid. And there we go. There's our nice border, top and bottom. So go ahead and click save, and that's really all you need to worry about for the all pages template. So let's go ahead and click back to WP and go to the admin panel. From here, we're ready to go ahead and set up our vehicle archive template. This is going to be the one that I showed you that has all the filters on the left-hand side and all of the vehicles on the right. So go ahead and type in vehicle archive and click on publish. Then from here, we want to inherit design from other template, which is going to be all pages. And then where does it apply? Click on archive, go to post type, and then all the way at the bottom, click on vehicles. And then click publish. Then of course, click edit with oxygen, and we'll get started on this one. Okay, so at this point, the first thing I'm going to do is open the structure panel because we're going to do a little bit of kind of nesting with divs so we can make our custom sidebar layout here. So start off by adding a section. And then what I'm going to do is change the container padding, first of all, to 0 on both sides so we don't have any issues with spacing. And then I want to go ahead and set our stack child elements to horizontal. Now what we're going to do is go to add and then div and set this div's width, and by default pixels is selected, do it to 300 pixels. What we want to do now is click on our section and then add one more div, and this one we're going to go under advanced, layout, and then all the way at the bottom, do flex grow and put the number 1, so it takes up all the available space. I'm going to change this section's default padding to something more like 35, so it looks a bit nicer. And inside of this div here, what I want to do is add another div. So we're going to add this div here. And you can kind of see inside the structure panel over here that there's a div inside of a div. Now this div right here is going to be our actual filter. So this one is going to be color. We're going to create another one that's going to be price, etc. But this div is going to be the one that contains our left-hand sidebar. So let's go ahead and set this width of this div here to 100%. So it takes up all the available space. And just for the sake of being able to see it, I'm going to add some padding to the actual left-hand sidebar. So click advanced, size and spacing, and we'll do 15 pixels. That might actually be too much. Let's do more like 5. And then click inside this div. We'll add a heading. We'll call this color. That's going to be our first filter. And our text color, let's go ahead and do a global color, which will be, well, let's just do our black. And then I'm going to save this and just call it standard black. So that makes it super easy. Now, click on this div again, and what I'm going to do here is add a class to this div. So we're going to call this filters blocks. And the reason why I'm adding a class is because if I make a change to one div that has a class attached to it, it makes the change to all the other elements that have that same class here. So what's going to happen is, as I add, let's say I add 5 pixels of margin underneath this div, the next time I go and modify that particular setting, or any setting, then it's going to apply to all of them. So that will make more sense here in just a moment. From this point, we're ready to go ahead and add in our first facet, which is going to be used with a WordPress shortcode. So click on Add, go to WordPress, and click Shortcode. And we're going to change this to width of 100%. We'll go back to Primary here, and now it's ready for our shortcode. So let's go over to our other tab, Facet WP, and color was the first one. So all we have to do is just click Copy Shortcode, return to this tab, and then paste it in. So now what I want to do is add on this div here, I'm going to add some padding. We're going to go to like 15, so it looks fine. And you can see that the color is not actually rendering right here, and that's fine. We're going to go ahead and add in the rest of the left-hand sidebar filters, but first I want to go ahead and just put in the Easy Post element so you can see this on the front end. So go to Helpers, choose Easy Posts, and it should pull up exactly what we're looking for. Now keep in mind, all this extra data, like the read more, the date, and that sort of thing, we're going to modify, so don't worry about that. But what I'm going to do is go ahead and click Save, and then I want to view this on the front end. So you can see I have our color drop down ready to go, and it's going to filter out the post properly. So that is really simple, and as you can see, it already works with just one shortcode. It really doesn't take that much effort to set it up. So let's go ahead and get in the rest of our divs here. So we're going to actually just go ahead and clone this div here, and we'll just copy that. So this one we're going to call price, and then we'll click in the shortcode, return to Facet WP, and we'll copy the price shortcode. And there you go. So of course it doesn't render like I said, but that's okay. And then we're going to click on Save. And then we'll do it again. We're just going to go all the way down the line. So next up is going to be Make. We'll just copy that shortcode, change this heading to Make, change this here. So now would be a good time for me to show you what happens if I modify the settings of one of these divs, and since they all have classes attached to them, the change that I make is going to apply to all of them. So just for the sake of example, I'm going to change this background color to something really aggressive. So you can see there, it changes the background color of all of the divs. So that makes it really easy to apply changes to a bunch of different elements, and this can be across your entire site too. So keep in mind, classes are extremely powerful, and go ahead and set those up ahead of time. It will save you a lot of time on the back end. What I'm going to do here is go ahead and just add in the rest of the filters, and then we'll move along from there. So here's an example of why you would want to set up your classes ahead of time. These two headings, I have a class called filters headings assigned to them, and these only have just the default ID. So what's going to happen is if I make an adjustment to the font size on these, those are going to match. Those are going to basically be in tandem with one another because of the class, but the other ones don't have this class attached to them. So the changes I make on those headings don't apply to these. So in this particular example, what I'd have to do is click on each heading. I'd have to delete the data under this ID and add in my class, which is filters headings. And then now it basically assumes the settings that I put in on the other headings. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look on the front end now, and you can see all of the filters that we've created using Facet WP are fully functioning and available. So the price slider works, our color box works, and so at this point we're basically ready to go ahead and set up our Easy Post to look exactly how we want it to. So the first thing that I'm going to do is click on the Easy Post element. I'm going to choose the load settings to kind of get a preset here, and I'm going to choose the second one, Animated Dark Gradient Overlay. So click on OK. And there we go. So you can see this one looks a heck of a lot better than the other one did just right out of the box, but it's not quite what we want. When I hover over this, it has that nice looking dark gradient with the excerpt text, but I'm not really interested in that at this point. What would be more appropriate is the price and the mileage like I showed you guys earlier. So what you can do is under templates, click on PHP first, and there's two things we need to delete. The first one is going to be this date overlay here, and then I'm also going to delete this div here, which is the excerpt. Then click on Apply, And I'll collapse this, and you can see now there's no excerpt and there's no date. So that's closer to what we want, but not quite. We're going to go back to the template CSS and scroll down until you find this gradient kind of background image section here, and change this to something more like 750 pixels, for instance. And what that does is take some of the gradient out so you can see the photo much more clearly. But of course, we still don't have our price and our mileage overlay on that. The way you get that done is by going back to the template PHP and find this line right here. So this is the actual title of the post, which is how these names of the vehicles are appearing. Go ahead and make some extra space for yourself, and we're gonna basically input a couple of divs with the code that pulls the data from advanced custom fields. So these div class names do the exact same thing that I do for the sake of being able to use selector detector later on. The reason why we turned on selector detector earlier is so that we can style these divs without having to write the CSS manually. So first of all, just start off with the div class is equal to do oxy v data. And my thought process there is it's oxygen vehicle data, similar to these other ones. So it's oxy post title, for instance, just above here. I wanted to do something similar. Oxygen vehicle data is my thought process there. And then what you can do from here is do div class is equal to oxy vehicle price. And then what you're going to do is $PHP the field. And then our field name for price was just called price. That's the advanced custom fields name. And then we're going to do like so. Then from here, we're going to close out that div and then do /div again. And this div right here is closing this one that we called oxygen vehicle data. So now what I can do is go ahead and click apply code. And you can see just very faintly that the price is now displayed exactly how we want it to, which is awesome. So that's one step out of the way. Keep in mind, this can be used to display any of the advanced custom fields data that you feel appropriate. So again, just do div class is equal to oxy vehicle data, or sorry, mileage is going to be the other one. And then we're going to do PHP the field, and then this one is going to be mileage. And from here, then we're just going to close this div, and I want them to be organized so you can kind of see exactly what we're working with, and click apply code again. And then now you can see the mileage and the price are displayed perfectly there. So I didn't actually need this $, that was just me typing incorrectly there. And that $, is just simply to have the $, in front of the price, where in this case you could go mileage, you could write the word miles afterward and click apply code. And then you can see 61,979 miles is what that says. So that's pretty much exactly what we want. Let's go ahead and click Collapse Editor. And from here, we're going to go to Manage, Selectors, and we're going to add in the selectors that we just created. So do .oxygen vehicle data, and we're going to do all three of these. .oxy vehicle price, and then we're going to do .oxy vehicle mileage. So there you go. Now you can see the data field is already selected, and because we have selector detector enabled, what I can do is click on advanced. I can go to layout. I want to do flex and then row, and then I want space around. And so, or space between, depending on which one you think looks better. Let's do space between. And what you can see is now the price and the mileage are on the same line, which I think looks really nice. From here, what I'm going to do is add a border to the top and bottom using our global color, which was that nice gray. We'll do width, solid, and then on the bottom, same thing, add in that global color, width 1 pixel, solid bottom. And although that looks nice, of course you can't read that text. So all you got to do is click on oxygen vehicle price, and now that selector is enabled. So click on advanced, then do typography, and you can change the font color to something like white. And there you go. Do the same thing for the mileage, click on that, go to color, and just white is exactly what you're looking for. So that's perfect. That's all you need. So then click on save, and let's go back to the front end and we'll do refresh. That's going to keep all of our filters from before because we refreshed. And there we go. So now you have your price and your mileage displayed in this nice little kind of lined box here. And so that's basically our archive template completely done. So that's really exciting. Let's click on save, and then we're going to return to the admin panel from here. Okay, so now we're ready to set up our vehicle details template, and this is going to be the one that actually displays all of the information for each particular vehicle. So if you were to click through, let's say on the BMW, this is going to be the page that displays all of the information that you would want to see specific to that vehicle. So vehicle details is what we're going to call this one. Click on publish. Once again, we want to inherit the design from the all pages template, and then under singular this time as opposed to archive, do singular and vehicles. Then click on update, and then click edit with Oxygen. So because of how nicely Oxygen plays with advanced custom fields, this process is going to be very straightforward on how to actually input all of the data that is stored in advanced custom fields. So the first thing we're going to do is start off with a section, and this is going to be kind of our container element here. And what I want to do is once again set the container padding to 0 on both sides, and then we're going to create a custom layout here using a couple of divs. So the first one we're going to set up is going to be a div that stretches the whole width of this container. So change this width to 100, and I want the background color to be our slate color like that. And then let's change the typography color of this particular div to white. And that way we don't have to edit it for every single element. We can just add it in and go from there. So let's add in a heading. I'm going to double click this text and do insert data and choose post title. And as you can see up here, we're previewing the 2015 Ford post. And so what's going to happen is it will automatically fill in that post title for us, which is super cool. I'm going to select this div and add in some padding. We'll do 25 pixels all the way around. And then let's also go ahead and display the price and the mileage in this slate blue div up here. So go add, and then we'll just do a text field, and we'll do insert data. And under advanced custom field, let's do our price first. That's probably one of the most important things people would care about. And then from here, we'll do duplicate, and we're going to go to insert data, and once again, advanced custom fields, and we'll do mileage. Now what you can do is you can see this Oxygen data is pulling in the advanced custom fields, and I want to add the word miles afterward. And then I'm going to add in a $sign ahead of this at the beginning of that, so you can see the price. So that's perfect. That doesn't look terribly enthralling, so what I'm going to do here is actually set the child elements to stack horizontally. I'm going to do middle alignment, and then we can do space between. Now on our previous site, what we had is our price and our mileage stacked on top of each other. And because we set our child elements horizontally, the way we achieve that layout is by selecting the price, and what we can do is say wrap with div. Then what happens is we can take our mileage and drag that into that div there, and now you can see those are stacked on top of each other on the right hand side of the page. What I can do is give this div some padding, and then we can assign this to be right aligned. So that looks pretty nice. I'm going to go ahead and just take up the font size on these because somebody's probably going to want to care about the price more so than the mileage in this particular case. We'll just go, let's say that one's pretty big. Let's say 26 pixels. So that looks basically exactly what we're after there. Maybe even take this down to more like 20 so it's not so huge. Those kind of fit more nicely like that. So that looks good. And there's our kind of headline div setup. So from here, what I'm going to do is collapse this, go back to our section and add one more div. And this one's going to be a similar approach, except just for the sake of styling, I'm going to set this width to 95%. And then we're going to set our background color to kind of a lighter tan to sort of complement that navy blue that you're seeing up top. This background color, we're going to set to that sort of tannish. And I'm going to say, we'll just call this tan for the sake of this example. I'm going to set our section to align center. So this tan div is nicely centered. And then I'm going to do a similar approach to how we set up this one. I'm going to add in, let's say, just a regular text element. So what I'm going to do is insert advanced custom fields and minimum miles per gallon. So this one is just going to input a number here. You can see 16. So I'm going to do, at the end of this, I'm going to do 16 MPG city, comma, and then we're going to do insert, advanced custom field, and max highway MPG. Insert that. And then I'm going to do MPG highway, like that. So now what's going to display is 16 MPG city, 22 MPG highway, which is perfect. Once again, I want to add a little bit of padding to this. We'll do 15. And then let's go ahead and add in another text element. This one is going to display our transmission type. So go insert, advanced custom fields, transmission, and I'm going to go the word transmission after. So that way it says automatic transmission in this case. And one more time, I'm going to add in just a regular text element, nothing special here, but I'm going to say call, 855-444-1234. That's going to be our dealership's phone number. From here, I want it to stretch kind of across this whole container. So what I'm going to do is change stack child elements to horizontally. And then I'm going to do middle alignment and space between. And there you can see, now you can kind of modify the layout a bit. So you could have everything squished to the left, kind of center aligned, or space between, so that way it looks all nice and neat. A couple other things, I'm going to take this div and do a little bit of negative margin to pull that up a bit. And then let's go ahead and under advanced borders, we're going to set our border radius on the bottom to 3 like that. So it's got a nice little curve effect. And I'm going to do the same thing to this top div up here. Borders is going to be border radius. We'll do it 5 on those left and right corners. And there we go. So there's our kind of headline setting. So we have all the important data displayed above the field. And so now we're ready to go ahead and add in another section, which is going to contain our photo gallery. This one is really straightforward. So click on Add, go to Helpers, choose Gallery, and then make sure you click on ACF here. And because our ACF field is just photo_gallery, you can click it like that. And then it should pull in all the photos of our truck here. So there we go. That looks fantastic. I'm super happy with that. Change the thumbnail resolution to something like medium large, which will help with page load times, and just you can see how much quicker those previews loaded in this case. Our layout I'm going to change to, let's just do 3 images per row. That looks fine. And our image minimum width change to 150 for the mobile responsive settings. One more thing I'm going to do is add in another section. And this one is going to be our call to action. So the background color will be that slate. Our text color is just going to be white. And then let's go ahead and add in a heading. A dealership might say, call now for $500 off. That seems like something a car dealership would say. And what I want to do is add in a button now. So we'll click on this button and then say call 855-444-1234. That's our phone number. And then from here, what I'm going to do is once again say stack child elements horizontally, middle align, and then space between. And that pushes it to the left and right edges, which looks really, really nice. So let's click on save. And we'll take a look on the front end. So there's our vehicle details template pretty much set up. You have this nice lightbox gallery, like I showed you guys earlier, and the call to action is in our template, as well as all of this data being pulled from advanced custom fields and set up in our vehicle details template. So that's super exciting. Okay, so we've completed our vehicle details template. I'm going to actually go back into the vehicle archive template because there's one setting that I forgot to show you, and I want to make sure you guys see this so you're not doing the same work twice. So click on Edit with Oxygen. Okay, so go ahead and click on the Easy Post element, and you'll see there's an option here that says Save Current Settings as Preset. You can title this whatever you want, but I'm just going to call it All Vehicles for the sake of this example, because what we're going to do now is click on Save and go back to our WordPress admin menu, because we want to actually set up our homepage, which we can do by creating a page. Let's just call this All Pages, Add New, and then let's title this one Home. And then we'll edit with Oxygen. So our homepage is going to be very straightforward. We're just going to add a section. We're going to add in under helpers, easy posts. And then our load settings from preset, all the way at the bottom here, you're going to see all vehicles. Just going to add that in. And then we have to change the query type to custom, go to post type, and then choose vehicles. And then click on apply query parameters. And there you go. there's all the vehicles displayed on the home page, and you don't have to set up the data fields twice. You don't have to do two separate easy post blocks. It can just be one with the same preset. Just for the sake of this example, let's go heading, and we'll just change this heading up to the top and call this recently added vehicles. Perfect. And then click on save. Now let's go ahead and set up our contact page and create our WordPress menu. Let's go ahead and copy our contact form shortcode. So this one is straight out of the box with contact form 7. Copy that, and then we're going to go to all pages, and then we'll just call this one contact. Paste in your shortcode and click on publish. Then from here, we're going to go to appearance and menus. We're going to create a new menu. We'll just call this main menu. We'll do home and contact. And then what you can do is under screen options, if you click on vehicles, that will enable this option over here. And you can either add in individual vehicles, or if you wanted to, you could just create a custom link here that would be vehicles, which is the URL of our archive template. And you could say view all vehicles. I'm going to arrange this just a little bit differently. Put our contact page down at the bottom. Click on save, and then like I told you earlier, now that we're actually at a point where the menu is created, Oxygen will have picked that up. So we'll go to settings and then reading. Change our home page real quick to home. And then we'll just visit site. And there we go. So there's our home page set up really nicely with all of our recently added vehicles. It's got our advanced custom fields data being pulled in automatically. Then under our vehicle archive template, we have our left-hand sidebar with all of our filters fully functioning and ready to go, still displaying our advanced custom fields data and the Oxygen Easy Posts. Of course, we also set up the vehicle details template, and this is all once again configured using advanced custom fields and the Oxygen data function. And our WordPress menu is ready to go with our header and footer template. I hope you guys found significant value in this video and it's helped you spark some ideas on how to create some really powerful search and filtering functionality for your website. Be sure to click the link in the description below to learn more about Oxygen and visit my channel as well. Like I said, my name is Jonathan and my channel is Permaslug. I hope to see you guys there, and I will definitely see you in a future video.